Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be talking about Paladins today, and I'm going to be giving you all my first thoughts on the game. So you're here, trying to find out what Paladins is about. Basically, I'm just going to explain that and give you my points of view. Firstly, the first thing you should know about Paladins is it's very similar to other games in the genres, such as games like Dirty Bomb, Overwatch, TF2 and games of the sort, with very fast, short game modes. The first thing I noticed, and I absolutely loved about the game, from the day I clicked on it in the training session, playing Victor, the soldier type shooty guy, it was the art style. The art style of this game is absolutely amazing. It's what I look for in the games. It's the cartoony-ish but kind of realistic aspect. You've got all these plants surrounding you, but also have these nice cool buildings but not too real, because I really don't like that type of thing. I guess the main reason for me liking this art style is from Hi-Rez's previous game Smite, which is very similar to that, and it has many different maps and stuff which have all got similar art styles but are all different in their very own way. This has got to be one of my favourite maps that you see on screen now, as most of the time you're not even focused on the map, but it's nice to have it there. It's easy to traverse through these maps as they're built for many different styles of attack. If you're more stay back and push behind your tanks and take the objective slowly, or if there's flanking characters, there's many different types of flank routes, where if you can fly up in the air, you can fly through a window above and rain justice down from above. Secondly, Paladins has much larger maps than other games of the sort, such as Overwatch and TF2. Overwatch and TF2 focus more on pushing through chokes and stuff, especially Overwatch, which this is very prominent. In Paladins, you can see yourself dying much more and getting back to the fight faster, as Hi-Rez have implemented horses to the game, which many people will find weird in this sort of game mode, but it's actually a very good way of working around it. They also have these cards, which allow you to upgrade your horse in forms, allowing you to get there even faster, so respawning is not as much as a pain as in a few other games of the sort. As I just briefly mentioned, Paladins has a card system, where throughout the game and at the start, you collect these little points through getting kills and playing the objective, which you can invest in perks such as lifesteal and extra mount speed to counter the enemy team. For example, if you're a team that's dying often but rushing the objective and still getting points, you'd want to upgrade your mount speed, whereas something like life speed or decreasing other characters' health would not be as beneficial to your team. This is a fantastic and well needed addition to the game, as hero switching is not a thing in this game. In other games such as TF2 and Overwatch, you can switch off the characters that you're playing, but right at the start of the game, you pick your character and you're locked into it throughout the entire game, where these cards allow you to combat the enemy team's combinations and stuff, whereas normally in Overwatch or TF2, you'd pick different heroes to try and counter the enemy team. One thing that I really didn't like about Paladins was, at the start of the game, you get this set of cards which is kind of like your hero loadout, which dictates what types of abilities and stuff are stronger. You can collect cards and change this loadout right at the start of the game by loot boxes or chests or whatever you want to call them, through leveling up. In Overwatch, which is a different thing, you get only cosmetics from your loot boxes, but in this game, you actually get gameplay affecting things from these loot boxes, which are a random chance, and this leads to a really unfair environment, especially in the competitive scene. This could have a really negative effect, where if you don't have a certain card, you're going to get destroyed by other heroes of the same class. I also saw this in a very negative way, as you can buy these loot boxes using real money, so it's kind of a pay-to-win environment, where the more money you invest into buying these loot boxes and stuff, you're going to have better cards than everybody else, therefore killing them. Whereas, if you could only get these loot boxes through leveling, it would be down to random chance, and yet unbalanced again. As I mentioned in Overwatch, you can get cosmetics and stuff. You can also get cosmetics in Paladins, but in a very, very different way, and not for the better at all. You have to spend a large amount of your funds on all these things. Not in-game funds that you gain. No, real money. It's, for example, gems which you collect in this game, which you can either get through dailies, and you only get a small amount, so it will take you a large amount of time to save up for a certain item for a character. But whereas in Overwatch, you just get these loot boxes all the time, they give you cosmetics, everybody feels good about it, but it doesn't affect gameplay. This is where I think Overwatch have done it right, and Paladins have really struggled. They've tried to make a countering thing off these cards, but really, they've just made it a more of a pay-to-win environment, and it's not good for the competitive meta. Another thing I noticed with characters being unbalanced is many characters were substantially stronger than others. Like, in a major way. Some characters would not even be able to compete in 1v1s or 3v1s with some of these. They are that powerful. In TF2 and other games of the sort, there are counters to all these types of characters, which mean that you're never going to be on a character that's at a disadvantage, but everybody has a counter. Some characters in this game are not able to be countered by others, as they can just sit at the back doing whatever they want, and people have to go out of their way to kill them. Paladins can't really have hero counters though, as people can't swap, and if one team has hero counters for the other, therefore they're going to win. That's why they use this card system, but the cards, if you're trying to counter a certain character, the cards are going to be in the other team's favour against you, so you're really not going to be able to counter 5 of the enemy team with just the very small amount of cards that you get. One way Paladins differs from other games of the sort is the voice communication, as there is not one really. People are not half as likely to even talk. Sometimes people use VGS, but it's not very likely at all. And you end up with teammates who don't talk, and this leads to being a bad community. And people not talking to each other and not communicating is not going to give you the same experience as when you're hardcore in action, you're communicating with your team on pushes and defences, and guys, there's someone flanking around the back or something like that, and your team gets notified and you feel like you're part of the action. Paladins is really missing this. If they could add a simple voice communication, this could fix this issue and make it more of an immersive game. In conclusion, I love Paladins as a mess around game, like TF2, before they added the competitive mode. It wasn't really made for competitive TF2, and nor was Paladins in my opinion. There's certain points of it which it could be made for competitive, but I don't think it is capable of reaching that. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was insightful. If you still have some questions about Paladins or still unsure on the game, go try it out. It's free on Steam, and even if you don't like it, it's still a good mess around game to have a bit of fun with. Thank you all, and that's a goodbye from me.